And the first part of that interview that we talked about, that we'll be watching over the next couple of days, we discussed the breakup of the Beatles, the group, and how Paul was blamed for most of that in the press.
Yeah, well, I think all of us, when the Beatles broke up, distanced ourselves from it. And people would say to us, Beatle George Harrison, Beatle Paul McCartney, and we'd say, no, ex-Beatle. Because, you know, otherwise we're never going to get away from it, which you can't anyway. I think that all of us realise we wouldn't. But we wanted to establish our own identities. That was very important. It was like after a divorce. Well, I've never been divorced, but I mean, I'm sure it's the same kind of feeling, where you just want shut of the old thing because you know you've got a lot to get on with the new act. So for a few years, all of us avoided anything to do with Beatles.
But they pointed the finger and blamed you, didn't they, most of the time? Why was
that?
Yeah.
The main reason, I think, was that Alan Klein came in. There was a New York businessman called Alan Klein who came in to sort our affairs out. Well, he had $5 million off us the first year. So I got a little bit smelled a rat here, and I sort of said, lads, you know, we can't do this. So they all said, oh. So I had to sue everyone. Now, the only people I could sue were the Beatles, because he wasn't party to any of the agreements. So I had this really big, probably the most difficult decision of my life, because I didn't want to sue them, obviously. But I had to. And later, they kind of came up to me. This was all in the High Court. And later, when it was all solved in the Beatles' favour, and Alan Klein was put on his bike back to America, they did kind of quietly sort of say, oh, thanks for that, you know, they would sort of mumble thanks, like, you know. So we were glad to get over it, but it left me with this kind of legacy, you know, and while it was all going on, the nastiness, John was kind of saying, you know, well, you know, I never liked you anyway, and doing a bit of that, which he was pretty good at. And I didn't really answer it, because I knew how good he was at it, you know. I thought, well, this is all I need, is a big public argument with John, my buddy, you know. So I wasn't able to reply. So it all came out like it was me. It was all my fault. So I think a lot of these books that have come out more recently about, you know, the megalomaniac, guy who'll do anything, you know, are fairly inaccurate.
You talk to the other lads now?
Yeah, it's where it's up to is these business things I'm talking about. All the lawyers keep saying it'll be sorted out this year, you know. So I keep my fingers crossed that it will be sorted out. I think once we do sort out those business hassles, like a kind of divorce settlement kind of thing, then I think we really will feel better towards each other and free to kind of get on with the future. And there are a few things. We have a film we've been talking about finishing called Long and Winding Road, which is like sort of definitive Beatles, where we could all put all sorts of private footage in and narrate and maybe get a few of the stories right that since have been fairly messed up. You know, there's quite a few wild rumours gone on since the Beatles broke up.
Very relaxed, very interesting Paul McCartney there. And more with Paul tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, as they say.
More of the same with Paul, talking, I think, very lucidly and for the first time quite openly and honestly about his relationship with John Lennon.